What is going on, you sexy ghouls and witches? It's your boy, and I have another awesome and spooky episode. And speaking of which, it is spooky season, baby. And boy, do I have an episode for you. I got a dear friend of mine. She is an esthetician in specializing in lash extensions and brows at the Lash Cabana Facial Bar located in St. Clair Shores at 10 and Harper. It's my good friend Brook Burnham. Brook, what is happening?
Hey everybody, good to be here with Matt. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so happy. We've been trying to do this for a long while, but I think today is definitely a special episode.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's been a long time coming. Lots of schedule mishaps between the two of us, so I'm glad we finally get to sit down.
I know, and the topics that we're going to talk about, it's definitely great for this time. So I'm definitely excited for it. So, but are you ready for spooky season?
I absolutely am. I am loving the fall weather. I've got all of my decorations in the front of the house, and we've got our costumes in order.
Oh, we got to hear that. What is it?
Okay, so my fiance Cameron, who's here with me today, he's going to be wearing a Mario costume that he wore last year.
Okay.
But we're sprucing it up because now I'm going to be Princess Peach as well.
I know, yeah. If you can hear in the background, it's Miss Harley is trying to get into what is it? She's trying to get into a cabinet right now.
She is.
I absolutely love it when we're recording podcasts. She just wants to be, heard on the podcast. I know she's having a tough time. She always does. It's hilarious. She's probably gonna be doing that for a good while until she gets. But no, that's awesome. So you got Mario, and then what else?
Princess Peach.
Princess Peach. I love it. Mm-hmm. Now, are you gonna sing the Peach song?
Oh yeah.
you gotta learn that Peach song. Peaches, 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 peaches. Yeah, I better hear it. You better learn it. I want to hear it from you.
You just might.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So, before we go and start off with the questions and discussions, we're gonna do a little thing that I always do on the podcast. It is the dad joke of the episode. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. What do you call ghost poop?
I don't know. What do you call ghost poop?
Well, it is called boo-boo.
Wow. That was phenomenal. Thank you so much for that, Matt. I'm going to have to share that one with the coworkers.
I mean, do it. Go for it. Or just tell them, listen to the podcast, and then you get the rim shot with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So you specialize in lash extensions and brows. How long have you been doing that?
So I started this esthetician line of work. I started learning when I was 18 years old. So pretty much just a few seasons after I graduated. Let's see here. I'm turned 24 on the 16th. Whoop whoop. So that means how many years is that? It's quite a while.
6 years.
Yeah, it's 6 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that long though. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're passionate about something and you enjoy it, time does fly.
Now, what got you into doing that?
So my Aunt Jenny has been a hairdresser since high school. She went through one of the cosmetology programs in her high school, so she started at a really early age.
Okay.
So I actually was originally supposed to go into business management, and I was enrolled to go to CMU.
Fire up chips.
Yup. So, I had the down payment down for dorm there and everything, and I ended up staying home because at the time I was struggling with a lot of anxiety, social anxieties, and I was honestly just not ready to leave home, and that's okay. So I decided to stick around, and after that I had a conversation with my aunt, and she's like, why don't you call around for apprenticeships to do something that we know that you enjoy? From a very young age, I was always working on my mom and my sister, doing like fun spa at home days with them. I would always do my sister's makeup, and same thing with my mother. So I was always into the beauty field type of things. So when she said that, it kind of opened up my mind, and I thought, like that's interesting. Like, why not just throw a line out there, do some cold calls? And I actually called 13 different spas. Some of them were foreign and didn't even know what I was saying over the phone when I said apprenticeship program. Some people did know what I was talking about, but they definitely weren't offering it. And then out of the blue, I called up Belsante Spa in St. Clair Shores. Not sure if some of you are familiar with that, but they're now a med spa. But when they were a day spa, they had actually just finished up one of their apprenticeships, um, their very first one. And when I had called them, they had just finished teaching this apprentice. So they said that they weren't looking, but it might have been a sign that I called them at that time. So they had me come in and start as a part time receptionist and part time apprentice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you go to school, and so you went to school for doing this, or
So the apprenticeship was all the hours that I needed. So I was honestly even briefly enrolled in Aveda in Royal Oak, which is an esthetician and cosmetology school. It's a pretty penny to go to beauty school, and there's not that many loans that are available for beauticians to go through school. So a lot of it would have been out of pocket. A lot of people out there that go to beauty school, they also have to work on the side. So it takes them longer to finish school, and they're paying out of pocket, and a lot of them have to take out personal loans and things. So when my aunt mentioned an apprenticeship and I realized that that was even a possibility, I tried to jump on that train immediately because
yeah,
it just sounded a way better option.
yeah, because you also get paid while you're being an apprentice, right?
So in the state of Michigan, it's actually illegal to get paid as an apprentice. However, you are able to get, paid under the table, such as like tips and things like that. You can accept gratuity. Um, this is kind of a longer story. I could go on a tangent about the troublesome things that happened through my apprenticeship. It really isn't something that I would recommend everybody to do. If you are already, let's say your mom's a hairdresser and they take you on as an apprentice and you know the company already, then go for it. But I think that just blindly walking into a beauty shop and expecting them to teach you good education, to care about you, and to make sure that you're getting good clientele that respect you as well. That's a lot to ask for, not knowing the business before you walk in. And
Okay.
I think that that was my main mistake, is not doing my research with the business before I walked in.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you were talking about your aunt, and was your I believe it was your aunt. Your aunt was at Jocelyn's birthday party this past weekend, correct?
So the lady that was there, that was actually my sister's boyfriend's mother, the one that was downstairs with us. Is that who
Oh,
you're talking about?
okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was my first time meeting her. She seemed,
yeah. She's
really
a hoot.
nice. Yeah, she
She's
is.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, like, so have you like had any like interesting stories that you could possibly tell
Oh,
about
yeah.
being an esthetician and doing lashes and brows and all that fun stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So when I first started out, like you can imagine a young girl, so like, 18 years old, all the way up till like I was 19. I was body waxing. I used to body wax. I no longer do. And at the spa that I was at, we were waxing men. So as far as that goes, I've only done back and chest and things like that. You wouldn't believe my dad's reaction when I told him one day, "Oh, I came home like, it's like a kid coming home from like a science project. They're like, look what I did." I didn't have any pictures or anything because that would have been weird, but I did explain to him that I waxed some guy's chest, and he couldn't believe it. He was not very happy. I'm a daddy's girl, so he wasn't very comfortable with that.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's more so the people around me that I've heard some crazy stories about. Actually, while I was receptioning there, there was a couple that got a couples massage there.
Oh,
Yeah, so there was two massage therapists, both women that worked on them. It was a guy and a girl. And after their massage was over with, the massage therapist left the room, and it took them an odd amount of time to come out. So we're like knocking, no response. We hear some giggling, whatever. Yeah, they had to clean up the sheets after that, and I was there for that. So yeah.
oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Nothing like a couples massage
Yeah.
to bond a couple together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, what it's not to be not expected. I mean, like we all know the stories working in a place that, we had female massage therapists. Like uh there's more times that I can count that I heard some really grotesque stories from these women.
Oh, I'm sure.
I could go on, but yeah. And then also one of my most close coworkers, Julia, who I work with, she does Brazilians. That's one of her main services that she does.
Yep.
And some ladies just don't know how to clean it up, and they expect way too much out of little old Julia. And sometimes it's funny, and other times it's like, whoa, like we don't need to be hearing about this in a spa.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to date a girl that was an esthetician, or that is still an esthetician. But yeah, some of the stories that she would tell me about how, like, either you get your regulars or you get people that come in and just be
Mhm.
like, "Hey, here you go,"
Mhm.
and then you're just like, "Mm-hmm, okay, um, it's gonna hurt."
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny because one of her main sayings that she has to calm somebody down is, "It's okay. You're doing great. You're doing great. One more, just one more." And it's never the last. It's never the last pull.
Yeah.
It's always a lie, but it's the only thing to get them through.
Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, I definitely have a story about waxing, but um it was what was it? I think it was like a few years ago. I think I was about 2021. I was in a fantasy football league and I didn't pay any attention to it and ended up losing.
Mm.
And so I guess the bet was, if you lose, you got to get waxed.
Oh.
So I waxed from my ankle all the way up to my high thigh and hamstring.
Oh.
Didn't go to a professional. Yeah.
So how and who? Like who did it? Yourself?
Myself, friends. Yeah, it sucked.
Well, I'm just trying to picture you like alone in the
No.
bathroom just waxing your own legs. Like it was this was a group thing then.
Kind of. Yeah, it
So
was
everybody
me.
helped
So
you?
so it was me and another guy that got waxed, but I got the worst of it and we just started having fun. And I mean, I like we did my former buddy's like chest, and that was hilarious. Him and his former fiance at the or his fiance at the time. We did his chest and that was fun just because it was like, we just I just wanted to rip the hell out of it. And
Mhm. Yeah.
but yeah, no, it sucked. It really sucked. And the funny thing is like that night, I was sleeping and then my one leg touched the other leg and I go, "Who's in the bed with me?" And I go, "Oh, it's me."
Yeah.
Like it was smooth.
That's good.
But with the eyebrows, like, does it like do you pluck? Do you take wax? Like what is kind of usually the
Uh,
technique?
well, so with one of our most popular things is just a standard brow wax and tint. I tint the brow first, give it some color, some density. There's a lot of women out there that have overplucked in the past. They've got like the 90s brows, and it's really hard to grow them back without like a boost serum, something to stimulate the follicle. So what ends up happening is they need some color, so we do a tint. And it brings out all those baby hairs that maybe aren't as thick as the main ones that they're struggling to grow. So it brings out a little bit of color, kind of tints the skin, and then we clean it up with some wax. I go in with some plucking, I do some trimming. I All the girls recommend people to me for brows. We are the facial bar, so we do facials and lashes, lash lifts, you could name it. But I think my favorite thing is probably brows, just because it makes a huge difference. And people who are struggling to grow their brows back, there's so many things that are out now. The beauty world's always changing. There's always something to do for anybody's situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now for the women that listen to the podcast and they're looking to schedule an appointment with you, where would they usually go?
So you can go right to our website. It's the lashcabanna.facialbar.com. If you put us in Google, you'll find it. You may also find our original location, which is closer to Clinton Township area. That's about like 14 and a half in Harper. So that's the OG location. They've been open for over 5 years now. Once it got too busy over there, they moved me over to the new location, semi-new. We're just over 2 years old now. We are in the building that used to be Muse Hair Salon, actually, for anybody that lives in St. Clair Shores. But yeah, so we've been here for a while now. It was actually August a couple years ago. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you are a expertise as well in the paranormal field.
I do love the paranormal. I like anything that's out of the ordinary. I'm definitely a person that is open minded to possibilities of non ordinary things, and I feel like that's how you have to be if you're interested in talking about these sorts of things, you know.
Oh yeah, of course. And I mean the sun is setting right now. We got the candles lit in a spooky situation, and so we are ready to get into the eerie and the spooky. Now, have you ever gone on a paranormal investigation?
That's a good question. So let's see here. I think that I have dabbled just doing things without proper equipment with friends, like I've been into some creepy places before. My sister and I and a couple friends, when we were younger, we broke into the Detroit Zoo on Belle Isle. And I just found some weird things, such as like it looked like somebody's noose. There was just a random chair with some ties around it, some duct tape. It looked like they almost investigated somebody there, where there was nobody around. So like I've been in creepy areas. I've also broken into the Silver Dome before. So that was pretty crazy. Nothing like too creepy there. And in fact, I think the most that I was worried about was actually just like squatters at the time.
Right.
And without proper equipment, we weren't that prepared. So I have been in like scary situations, but no actual investigations have happened yet. I am interested in going to this one. It's this really old house that we see, Cameron. We see on our way up to Caseville. They have stories about paranormal activity there, and they do allow people to stay overnight for a fee. And I don't know if they supply equipment or if you can bring your own equipment. I'm a little hesitant though, because I feel like if they are allowing you to pay them to come into the house to do like research for paranormal activity, how do you know that they don't have the house wired with things that are going to make sounds or smoke or lights or whatever it may be? Like there's no way to trust that they haven't like prepared you to actually hear something based on like what they've put through the house maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because of course, it's haunted, quote unquote, and also, going in there, it could, automatically your senses are already going to be high, and the adrenaline is going to be going through you, and so, even if they might have somebody hiding and knock or something like that. If you go like knock 3 times for yes, knock 2 times for no, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel that if I were to go there to do some sort of investigation and the ghosts were actually like answering me like way too quickly and I was getting way too much activity, I feel like that at that point I would probably just walk out and be like, okay, this is a dud. This
Yeah.
isn't really what I want. I mean, or I'd stay and just have fun with it, but you would
Right.
know that it wasn't real, because most of the time, like, you just got to be at the right time, the right place, the right equipment, and really, like, it has to be a place that doesn't have a lot of traffic coming through it. I feel like the most successful places to do some investigations would probably be like abandoned buildings. Um, do you know the name of that one asylum that's like still in Detroit? Maybe they've knocked it down already.
Yeah, yeah, they use it as a they use it as a haunted house kind of thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Mhm.
I forget what asylum it is, but I do know that it is haunted, but they use it in a way during Halloween time to kind of get everybody like excited about like, oh, you might, be touched, but it's not one of us kind of
Mhm.
things, to where to
Yeah.
where it can kind of get the senses and everything going, and just the excitement of Halloween. But I mean, I think that's very well marketed for sure,
Right. Yeah.
so but yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the name is, but I know exactly which asylum you're talking about. And it's either Detroit or Pontiac, I think it is.
Yeah. I know that there's one in Detroit that's closer to where Jefferson is, closer to where the lake is. It's on the verge of being between Grosse Pointe and the beginning of Detroit on
Okay.
Jefferson. My mom has spoken about it before. I don't remember the exact name. Um, but really, I feel like downtown Detroit is a great place to try to go investigating. Problem is are do you have the ability to go into these properties like legally?
Right.
I used to be a risk taker. Not gonna lie, I'm not so much anymore because I am afraid of the law.
Yep, yep.
You have to be.
As you get older, you become less rebellious and you're more a law follower,
Yeah.
and you definitely come into more of your senses of reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, if besides that, let's say I had the ability to go onto some abandoned property downtown where maybe like a fire, there's tons of places that have been in fires. Like there's tons of like, unfortunately, like families and children who have died in fires, in Detroit, different things like that. Um, you know, I I don't know if I would be able to get the ability to go into these houses on the property like legally. So that's something that I'm not so sure about. I'm not sure how you'd be able to do that. Of course, we see all these TV shows like Ghost Adventures and things like that, and they get into all these asylums and haunted houses. But it's because they have a TV show. That's why they're allowed to get in there.
Right.
It's not that it's a free pass or whatever, but somebody's going to say yes rather than just like a bunch of kids with some random like gizmos in their pocket
Right.
trying to go walk around some abandoned building. Like they're probably going to tell you no.
Right. And try and be like the Scooby Doo gang.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. So so you've been doing a lot of research, and you've of course, have how long you've been kind of paying attention to like the paranormal.
So ever since I was little, I think I was more so open to everything. I've always been kind of like a spiritual person. I really feel like I get it from my mom. From a young age, she would joke around like anytime that we would talk about something like, oh, we heard something, or oh, this house is haunted, or my friend's house is haunted. If we brought up anything around that realm to my mom, she would say something like, I wish I was friends with a ghost. Like they're not going to hurt you. I mean, hopefully it would be like not a poltergeist or like a demon or something. Like,
Right.
that's a whole nother scenario. But um I I don't believe that just because, like, let's say you move into a house and the previous owner like died in the house. Like they're not going to just come and haunt you for fun. There has to be some sort of like unfinished business or like something like that. And it's not always a negative like or angry thing.
Right.
You have to realize that the the blanket over us that divides us from the paranormal world, it's a very thin line, and there's different ways that it can come out, and you just have to be you have to be open to see it, and it's not always bad things. Sometimes there's just souls and energies that are lingering around that have nowhere to go. So you're not necessarily always going to need to be afraid when you hear something. Um, I was talking paranormal with one of my clients earlier today while I was doing her lashes, and she was said how she actually moved out of a house within the first 6 months of living there just because she was hearing, knocks on the door or like people going up and down the stairs when nobody was home. I don't know how frequent it was. She did seem pretty um, I don't know, enthusiastic about saying that it was really bad. Of course, I'm not in her situation, so I don't really know. But I think that people can be a bit dramatic because it's like, are they trying to hurt you, or are they just trying to make themselves known, or are they confused on why they're still here and they just literally don't know? There's no way of knowing. So, is there a reason to be always afraid of the paranormal? Like, not necessarily.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also you get different people with fears and stuff
Hmm.
like that because it's like if you're home alone and you hear footsteps walking up and down the stairs, then it's like, is somebody actually like? Then you're like on fight or flight instincts happen, and you're just like, is there actually somebody in the house? You know, so that makes sense with the whole
Hmm.
fear of it and everything like that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the fear of the unknown.
yeah.
Um, But I guess one of my first recollections of paranormal, something that happened, this happened when I was a child. So I'm sure that you have some memories when you were a child that like you don't necessarily know as an adult if that was true or not, or if it was some sort of part of your imagination as a child. Because they say that children are able to see more into the paranormal world because their minds aren't like completely developed. They don't have as much of the world's like stigmas against like paranormal. So they're more open to seeing things because they just don't know better. So it might have been one of those occasions too. But I was walking down my stairs at my parents' house, the one that you were over at the other day. And so I was walking down the stairs, and it was right after my mom's father had passed. Now, I didn't really know him a whole lot. Apparently, I did when I was younger. So I was walking downstairs and I was singing the ABCs because I had to go downstairs to grab something. I was probably only 8 or 9 years old at most. And I was afraid of the dark, but I had to go downstairs. You do what you got to do as a kid, right? So singing in the ABCs, I'm going down these stairs, and I still remember seeing almost like a see-through like entity, like but I knew it was my grandfather trying to break the barrier just to be like, hey, this is my last time seeing you. It was literally the either the same night or the night directly after his passing. So and it wasn't anything scary. It was more so like I seen him sitting down in a chair next to the pool table downstairs in the corner,
Hmm.
and I just kind of looked. I was like, "Hey, grandpa," and grabbed whatever it was, maybe a water from the downstairs fridge, and then I sang my ABCs and went back up the stairs, and I'm pretty sure I told my mom about it and we cried about him. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, we're going to take a really quick break, but we're going to talk more about the paranormal. So you've had experiences with ghosts with your grandfather. Um, was that like the only time that you kind of experienced a paranormal experience like that?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm always hoping. Honestly, I'm one of those weirdly demented people that like wants something to happen to me that's spooky.
Right.
You
As long as
know?
you don't get possessed, we're all good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm just like my mom. I want to become friends with a ghost,
Yeah.
Casper.
Yeah, you want to have Casper the friendly ghost by your side and just being like, "Hey, dude, what's happening?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've done a lot of research and you got some research on you. So like, what kind of stuff have you brought us today?
Oh, well, a lot of it's just about paranormal stuff such as like skinwalkers and Bigfoot
Right.
and
So what exactly is a skinwalker?
so a skinwalker is a shapeshifter. They're really popular in Native American culture.
Right. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
hmm So when I was kind of like doing some research on Bigfoot, a lot of the stuff that came up was actually about skinwalkers. There wasn't a whole lot of information out there on like unbiased websites. I was trying to find some websites that were, pro supernatural, pro conspiracy, that sort of thing, just to get to the nitty gritty of what people believed in. But a lot of it was kind of the opposite side of where I was trying to go with it. A lot of it was some information that was debunked. I'm like, nah, I don't want to see that,
Right.
but it's hard. So, um, but yeah, so Skinwalker, that's some sort of I don't want to say like a monster, but it's basically something that can take form of a person, an animal. Usually in like Native American culture, it takes place of like an animal with like a head that's different than the body. It'll form to whatever it needs to basically do what it's wanting to do. So, um, one of the documentaries that I actually watched was about skinwalkers, and they were interviewing people off a Native American reserve here in the United States. And it was a guy that was driving, and he was driving home from work, and we're talking about mid country. So kind of nothing around, and he seen something that looked like a wolf and a bear, and even almost like a human like face to it, that was running as quickly as he was going in the car, so probably about like 55 miles an hour. And another thing was there was also a beam of light in the air, almost like a red light, just kind of like dotting around, dipping down, like zipping around. And it wasn't until he turned down a side road to get to his home that it darted off. So the fact that he's seen like two very, I don't know, something that you couldn't draw connections to, like the dot in the sky that was red, that was going super fast. And then also the skinwalker like thing that he's seen on the side of the road that was going as fast as his car, kind of gaining up on him. I really don't know what to make of that, other than that's creepy as hell. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and skinwalkers are definitely very creepy. Like I don't know if I saw one or not. Granted, it was my cousin Anna and our friend Aaron, who has been on the show before. We were, trying to scare each other pretty much and just be spooky. It was like in February or something. Like snow was on the ground still, and we had gone through like this cemetery, and we're all trying to be like, ooh, trying to freak each other out.
Mhm.
Didn't work. But my cousin Anna, of course, she was getting freaked out a little bit, and it was just funny. But then we pulled up to like this factory, and so it wasn't closed off or anything like that. So we snuck in and
Mhm.
started walking and everything like that, trying to scare each other and watch it. Like it was abandoned, and like it seemed like it was abandoned for quite some time because there was like graffiti and everything like that. So we're walking through this factory and trying to see anything or anything like that, and we're kind of just standing in this really big area, and we're kind of just like, so what do we do now? And like we're just kind of looking around, just admiring the factory, the abandoned factory. And I look over, and like I would say it was probably about maybe 40, 50 yards away. I see these glowing eyes, and and I have my flashlight on my phone, and I kind of shine it over, and it looked like a wolf figure. I
Mhm.
don't know if it was a coyote, a fox, something, but it was like it was fairly big, and it had like a hunch kind of back
Mhm.
on all fours, and it just looked at me, and I was like, okay, time to go.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't got a gun, a knife, I got nothing. All I got
Mhm.
is my phone, and we don't have any like mace or anything. I mean, maybe my cousin had mace. I don't even know, but I didn't care at that moment because I was just like, all right, time to go. See
Yeah.
glowing eyes, see like a wolf looking figure. It's like, all right, let's scoot up out of here. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm done.
And you were in the building at this point?
Yeah, we were in this building, and it was, I think it was like a loading dock area,
Okay.
maybe, but it was like really big, and it was like a bigger area and everything.
Well, especially being in an enclosed area that you're not familiar with.
I mean, we were in Flint, so I mean, but it wasn't like the city part of Flint. It was more like on the outskirts.
Mhm.
So I'm not, but again, I'm not exactly sure, what it was, but yeah, it freaked me out pretty good, and so nobody else saw it but me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
There's
just
also a lot of polluted water out there, so who knows what the wolves look like out there?
that is very true. That is very true. They could be all skinny or something like that, but I
Two
honestly,
heads.
I hope not. If I would have seen four eyes, I would have been like, "Oh my gosh!" I would have literally probably jumped into my buddy's arms like Scooby Doo, and then been like, "Oh my gosh!" Like Scoob, we gotta get out of here. So, but yeah, I mean, but like there's like stuff like that, and I mean, in Michigan there is a lot of different paranormal stuff. Like I was looking up a couple of things, and I had asked you before if you have ever heard of Dice Road, which is in Midland. Most people have heard um of that cursed road, but it's I'll read you a little thing. So it says the mystery spans over 4 decades, and it began with a man named Harold. I'm probably going to butcher this last name, but Pomeranian in 1974. Pomeranian owned the home on Dice Road in Merrill when the hauntings began. After being terrorized by loud pounding noises inside out and outside of the home and unexplained fires, he contacted the Saginaw County Sheriff's Office. Deputies couldn't figure out yeah, they couldn't figure out what was going on. They checked for footprints, searching any evidence for people prowling around, and they looked for damage on the exterior of the house. They never could find any physical evidence uh, to explain the way the strange occurrences occurring to retired captain of the Saginaw County Sheriff's Department, Fred Clark. He says, and I quote, "I would say to a doubter, no doubt, not to doubt. There are a lot of things that happen in this world that are unexplainable. And I would also say that many of these things were not to know." So the retired sergeant of the Saginaw Sheriff's Department, Charles Frisbee, recounts his time at the home. And he says, and I quote, "This Dice Road corridor is kind of strange. We have the cemetery on one end and the Pomeranian home up the road. I heard the noise. I saw stuff out there. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll tell you one thing. I saw it. What he saw doesn't really say. Um, but later, in time, there was a movie about Dice Road as the seventh installment of the movie Haunted Saginaw series. um
Hmm.
so I mean, there's a movie about it and everything like that, but um yeah, I mean, pretty much there's like there's a whole lot of stuff here, but mainly, you get different teenagers that go out there and try and spook each other. But the thing is when I had two buddies that went out there, and supposedly they heard a little girl giggle, and they saw an orb outside the car. Of course, you can't go outside the car usually. I mean, if you're feeling pretty ballsy, you can get outside the car, but
Mhm.
it's so cursed that people usually don't get out of their car. They just kind of roll down the window and try and hear for stuff, talk to the whatever is out there. I mean, but people have had different encounters um of a little girl in the middle of the road, and she's wearing, I believe, like some type of like nightgown, I believe it is,
Mhm.
maybe, but I'm
Do
not
people
exactly
live in
sure.
this area?
Oh yeah, yeah. I believe people still live on Dice Road. Um, but I mean, I do know that it is pretty haunted, especially around like midnight, 2 a.m.
Yeah, I think the magic number is 3
Yeah, the witching
a.m.
hour. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the witching hour. Yeah. So I mean, with everything that like kind of happens out there, I mean,
I'd be interested to go out there and see what I can find for myself.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a hot spot for sure that is in Michigan, and the fact that it's a road instead of like a house, that one's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So, but there's this one story. It says my parents went out to dinner and we were here alone, sitting in the main living room. We saw a flash outside, and my dog started barking and got up on the bay window. And then we looked, and some guy put his face up to the window. It was like a white face. It was literally like a glow. You couldn't see much of anything except a round white head peeking in the window. And it says we ran into the other room, and I believe Bridget. It says Bridget, who is the woman who's talking sister. She called the neighbor and said it was snowing, and there were no footprints or anything. There was nothing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That is very creepy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you get a male head.
Old white man face.
Yeah, just kind of peering in, being like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" you know,
I wonder if it's like a floating head or if that's like all his
right,
mind could focus on was his face.
right, exactly. And you just kind of peer in. I mean, I'm pretty sure the guy's like, "I see a fire in there," because it's snowing outside. He's like, "I'm already dead, but it's kind of cold out here. I
Probably.
just want to see what you guys do. What are you guys watching?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
My neighbor used to live in this house.
yeah, right. Cool dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely a big kind of like haunting in Michigan for sure, especially in the, I guess you could say, Metro Detroit area. If anybody dares peek at this road or want to travel on this road,
Mhm.
beware.
Beware and give us some of your stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and honestly, like speaking to what you said, that if you have gone down Dice Road, you can send stories, and I will read them on the Rambler Diaries, and you can just DM the Instagram at Magnificent Podcast, or you can DM message on the Facebook page at also Magnificent Podcast. So if you have gone down Dice Road, I would so love to hear some stories and some spooky tales about Dice Road. But if you are also interested in learning more, you can watch Stephen Shippey's documentary, "A Haunting on Dice Road: The Hell House" on Amazon Prime.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's one of Michigan's hauntings. But I did look up 6 haunted places in Michigan. Now, a lot of skeptics have began to search out the truth. After well over 200 investigations, we have found 30 accounts in Michigan alone that carry a mystery leading us directly to the paranormal. Events that simply cannot be explained. These accounts are now part of our Haunted Travels of Michigan book series. And the number one haunting is the Doherty Hotel in Clare, Michigan. The Doherty family was owned or has owned and operated the hotel since it opened in the 1920s. The Doherty men were and remain the business managers. However, Jim Doherty, a current owner, tells it was the Doherty women who were the heart and soul of the business. The hotel has a colorful history. During Prohibition, it was a speakeasy. Now you know what a speakeasy was, right?
Mhm.
So for those that don't know, a speakeasy was back in the 1920s. It was like a bar because in the 20s, prohibition was happening and alcohol was illegal, and you could come, drink, and party and have fun and not have the law know. It was a. You wanted to say something?
Oh, I was gonna say, in speakeasies, there's usually either a trap door, a basement, one of the bookcase, like pull the book and then the door opens, like all that spooky stuff that you see in the movies. Some of it was real because they actually had to hide the booze.
Right. And there it was very secretive. It was very underground and everything like that. But it says in the back room there was gambling and an adult entertainment. It was also a meeting place for the mafia and the Purple Gang. Now I don't know who the Purple Gang was, but you know,
I
sounds
mean,
like
as
it.
long as they're aligned with the mafia, they're probably not
Probably.
some fun dudes.
Yeah, right. So, and then it says here they worked out their differences. In 1938, the hotel was the site of one of Michigan's most notorious murders. Of course, we got murders, unfinished business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Isaiah Lebov, former Purple Gang attorney turned Purple Gang businessman, was murdered in the bar. He was shot dead by his cousin and business partner, Jack Livingston. Now, that's a family reunion I would not want to go to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if your cousin's going to be shooting you in a bar, like,
You got some family issues.
oh, yeah.
There's some dirty laundry in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, somebody probably slept with somebody's girl or something like that, but I don't even know. So it says over the years, there have been numerous yet vague accounts of its hauntings. Some believe Isaiah may remain along with family matriarch Helen, the grandmother. The evidence we collected was startling. Perhaps most surprising evidence was recorded in a back room where Grandma Pebble's body was placed after her death. In this area, the voice of a woman was recorded. It was a soft and feeble, as if she were either very old or very sick. The words were in response to questions asked. We believe it was the voice of Helen, the grandma. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like grandma as well as Isaiah haunt this hotel.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't give any more details, but it definitely seems like this hotel is definitely a place if you are into the paranormal to maybe, check a bed in the hotel and maybe stay and see if one of them come in to, tuck you in.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that would be a great way. You're talking about how to get into actual paranormal investigations. I mean, that's a good starting place.
Yeah.
Even though there's other people staying in the hotel with you and they're still operating. Just the fact that they have a history like that's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind staying there.
Yeah. No. I mean, unless, I just don't want grandma to be touching me. That's all.
That's so funny. Yeah, yeah. You're sleeping in bed in a hotel bedroom. You hope that you don't feel something in bed with you.
Right. How you sleeping, Sonny? Do you need another pillow? No, grandma. No, thanks. I'm good. There's also another place called the Terrace Inn and 1911 Restaurant. That is in Petoskey. It says over the decades, there have been many reports of paranormal activity in this Victorian inn just north of the city of Petoskey. If you ask the front desk clerk of the inn's ghost files, they'll hand over a thick folder with accounts from past guests and employees. Based on the evidence we've recorded, it seems these reports may very well be true. After 5 years, this historic inn remains one of the most paranormally active locations. There seem to be three per, three spirits that wander the inn. The first is a lady in white, seen in the hallways and guest rooms. Could could she be looking for the man in the tweed? Another ghostly apparition was seen on the balcony. There is the interactive youth, a lad of perhaps 12 or 14 of age who inhabits the basement. Our compelling recorded evidence and in-depth historical research lead us to believe we have identified these wandering spirits and and why they may remain. So
Okay.
not exactly. I mean, I can definitely say, the one lady is probably looking in different rooms, being like, "Honey, are you
Mhm.
in here, honey?" you
Mhm.
know. So
Yeah.
she's probably looking, but
I
she.
wonder if it's a, father, mother, son.
I don't know. I mean, it says, it's a lady in white, so it could be a bride that
Yeah.
probably got killed on her wedding day.
That
Now,
that's a possibility.
I don't know why she would want to kill herself or be killed on the happiest day of her life, but again, a family reunion I would not want to go to.
Have you ever watched the TV show Supernatural?
I've seen bits and pieces.
Okay. There's an episode called Lady in White, and it's one of the very first adventures that the two brothers in the show go on together. And they say in the show, I'm not sure how it lines up with like real life conspiracies, but in the show, a lady in white is supposed to be a woman who has what is it, like the baby blues, after she gives birth. So she has a child and murders the child. Now that lady is considered a lady in white, because then they kill themselves out of sorrow, and out of regret and guilt. Um, so that's what is considered a lady in white based on, I don't know, the Supernatural TV show. So
Hmm. Maybe she has guilt. Maybe it's a mother who killed her child,
maybe.
and is probably looking for the baby. So,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
probably looking for the child. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then the boy who is 12 to 14 is in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it didn't say much about that, but I only imagine what a 12 or 14-year-old would be doing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
probably pulling pranks or something like that,
Yeah.
and trying to, spook people,
Maybe.
or even being like, "Hey, have you seen my family?" kind of thing, and like,
Yeah.
you want to help me out kind of thing, but I don't know. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I wonder if that's where the 12 or 14-year-old stays, is the basement. It's like, did he die there, or is that just like the most quiet, dark place that a spirit can linger?
Maybe.
You know, I don't know what people believe, if a spirit's able to actually like move locations, whether it's in the same house or like, who knows? Is there a certain distance that a spirit can travel before I don't know, they get pulled back to where they were killed, or who knows?
Yeah, that is an interesting fact to what you kind of mentioned, to where maybe it is tracked back to where they were killed.
Mhm.
So that is an interesting point. But one more before we go on our break. It's the Whitney restaurant in Detroit. Look at that. We got to we're
Hmm.
going now. We're going all the way to Detroit, located on Woodward Avenue.
Yeah.
Uh, this exquisite restaurant was the former mansion home of David Whitney Jr. Mr. Whitney was one of the Midwest's wealthiest lumber baron at the turn of the century, and he built this magnificent 21,000 square foot home in 1894. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a fabulous home.
Heck yeah.
So, since the mansion's restoration in the in the mid 1980s, reports of unexplained activity have existed. Shadowy apparitions have been seen on the second floor. Disembodied voices have been heard, and other strange paranoia have occurred. The Whitney was one of our first investigations, and it changed our view on the of the ghosts and the paranormal. It brought us from skeptics to believers. People often tell us of getting feelings like they relate to nearby ghosts. We dismissed it as overactive imaginations until we had such an experience at the Whitney during an after hours investigation. Kat was standing on the second floor. Not sure who Kat is, but I'm sure she's an investigator. So she was standing on the second floor when the atmosphere, strangely enough, changed around her, just as people had explained. The atmosphere became thick, charged. She said, "I'm getting something here." Later, when audio was received or reviewed, a disembodied voice was clearly heard saying, "That's right," followed by the words, "I'm still here."
Hmm. That's pretty spooky.
I know.
And I know of this place.
Do you?
Yeah. My coworkers actually went out to the Whitney for drinks for one of their birthdays not too long ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, this place is pretty fancy inside. Actually,
Okay.
it's not something that I would have thought would have had paranormal activity, but I wonder how did it say how old the building was?
Well, it says that it was made in 1894.
1894. Okay, I mean that's pretty dang old.
Yeah.
So
So if we calculate it here, 1894. No wait. 2023 minus 1894. And for all you math whiz kids out there, you probably got it faster than I did. 129 years.
wow, yeah, that's a super old building.
Oh yeah. And the fact that it may be Mr. Whitney or it could be something else, but all I know is that it is quite haunted. There's also more here, but we're going to take another quick break and we'll come back with the Whitney restaurant.
I am right behind you.
So now back to the Whitney. Around the same time, an investigator named Bev was alone on the first floor asking any spirit to knock on the wall. She didn't really expect a response, but was stunned when she heard a loud, resounding rap on the wall next to her. Now, I don't think it was like yo yo or anything like that. I'm not exactly sure what the rap was. She asked for another response and received it. Although she didn't hear it at the time, a clear voice was recorded that simply said, "Hi."
Hmm.
During follow up investigations, the sound of a piano was constantly heard and many other unexplained voice phenomena recorded. Our investigative historical research turned up the fact that both Mr. Whitney and his wife passed away in the home. Based on the evidence and known events that happened in the house, we believe members of the Whitney family have never left. David Whitney and his family had an incredibly strong bond that has connected them both in life and in death.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah. Now that just breaks your heart, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Like, what the heck? Like I thought it was gonna be like murder or something, but really it's just a family that just didn't want to leave each other.
Yeah. See, that's an example right there. I wouldn't be scared of those ghosts. I would live with them. I would
Yeah.
room with them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You would almost feel like one of the family.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, like you said, it's a restaurant.
Mhm.
So wonder what happens when the restaurant closes and
Right.
people are, everybody goes home, or and then you get the staff that cleans up and everything like that. So that would be interesting to chit chat about. We should, you know what we should do? We should take a visit to the Whitney.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we should go later at night.
Well, I was gonna say we should go and grab drinks and then start talking to the bartenders about it. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Or like, oh, what if I got the manager of the Whitney, one of the managers of the Whitney, to come on the podcast?
That would be so sweet.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Now, one more story. So I was telling you about the Eastern Airlines flight of 401. For those that don't know, I already told Brooke before the show started, but in 1972, in December, it was around Christmas time, Eastern Airlines Flight 401 took a flight from JFK to Miami. This ended in a plane crash. It was due to operator error. There was 163 passengers and 13 members of the crew on board, and pretty much what happened was, although 75 people survived, the accident still resulted in the deaths of 101 occupants, including Captain Robert, also known as Bob Loft, and flight engineer Donald Don Repo. And it was a fatal crash involving not only the plane, but the wide, and it was the wide body aircraft that also is the second deadliest plane crash in U.S. history at the time. Although today it now ranks the 16th place. So, but long story short, what had happened was there were bodies everywhere, and a lot of casualties, of course, and only 75% people lived. And I believe with the mud, so I found this out, that the mud saved those 75 passengers, and because it blocked the blood from leaking out of the injuries. But there was some type of like bacteria that was in the mud, of course, because it was on like a bio
marshy,
kind of area. And so the bacteria that was in it, I believe about 8 of those passengers that survived out of the 75 ended up contracting like a sort of gangrene disease. And so they had to go into like this oxygen chamber.
Yeah.
Which was almost as big as the plane itself. So imagine, going through this traumatic event, and it's from a plane perspective, and then you go into this oxygen chamber to help with the disease, and it's shaped like the plane.
Yeah, PTSD right there.
Bingo. Yeah. So, I mean, going through that is insane. But on the paranormal aspect, different flights that would fly from JFK to Miami, there is known to be activity on these Eastern airline flights that resemble a man that is on the plane that is like in somewhere in the hallway area. And there's actually a story about this man who sat down in his seat, and there's another man who was like very white and ghostly like, just looking out the window. And the guy tried to conversate with him and everything like that, and the guy just kept looking out the window. And the man who was had the white face pretty much said to him, not this flight or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much who it was Bob Loft, the captain, and pretty much he's been, ever since he passed away, he's been looking out for all those different airlines going from JFK to Miami, making sure that that plane crash never happened again, because it, like you said, like to right a wrong.
Mm-hmm. Unfinished business.
Unfinished business, yes.
Yeah.
So because it was operator error, he feels like it was his fault. So he's, making sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So, but with, the spooky season, of course, we covered ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say mummies are definitely or would you say they're more historical? Would you say they're more kind of like the monster kind of look of Halloween?
I think they can definitely be both. I know that you can do some really nice pigs in a blanket that look like little mummies. That makes me think of Halloween. But what I know mummies as is definitely a little bit more historical. I've always been into the ancient Egyptian culture. I used to read all of those fun little books that were, in my elementary school room. You open them up and they're like anything that you would want to know about the ancient Egyptians, including like the what is it? What's the roll of paper? It talks about death. It's the Book of the Dead, is it?
I think I think I'm picking up what you're putting down, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but they had like death rituals. They had different types of like ceremonies and things like that. They had, of course, like the mummy embalming, and they believed in spirits and they believed in higher powers that were gods. And all of that stuff is really interesting to me, especially the embalming of the mummies. It's because they cared about the people that passed away. They cared about the pharaohs, but they also did embalming to family members that were probably had a little bit more money, and everybody that was embalmed, not all of them had like tombs or anything. Those were more of the higher up people, but they cared for their loved ones enough to try to preserve their bodies, so that way they're able to use those bodies in the afterlife. Because the thing with them, which I find is really beautiful, is after death there is a new beginning. If you are a good person, your heart is weighed on a scale with a feather. If it's lighter than the feather, then you're able to go into the afterlife and walk in the same body that you walked with on earth, along with all the belongings that are buried with you. If your heart is heavier than the feather, then you basically get eaten by the whatever god that looks like an alligator. He's got an alligator head. He's pretty scary looking, actually.
I'll look it up, but keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So it's really interesting. If you go to the DIA, they have a whole exhibit that's really cool to look at. The Egyptian exhibit. There's an actual what is the case of the mummy called? What is that?
Yeah, it's like a tomb, but it's
No, it's like a casket.
It's a sarcophagus.
Yeah, I believe that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. After watching like The Mummy and stuff like that, and old school 1940s, movies like that, I think it's their sarcophagus.
Yep. So they actually have one there that's behind some glass, and there's a real mummy inside, and you can see the X-ray of what it looks like inside the sarcophagus.
Really?
Yep.
And where is this at?
This is at the DIA.
Oh, I think I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in college, we had to go there for like some type of paperwork or something. I don't know. It was like we had to write a paper about it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that sarcophagus. Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah. It is. So they have the one that actually has the mummy inside of it. That's in the middle, behind some glass, and then they also have many other emptied out sarcophagus.
Yeah, you're saying it right. You're
Yeah,
all right.
sure. They even have some smaller ones that probably children were put in. You can tell by the size of it.
Right.
Obviously, like mortality was way harder on like children back then.
Right, because there
So
wasn't like medicine like there is today, of course, and
Right.
everything. I found that god that you were talking about, the alligator, like
Yeah.
it's Sobek. I believe I said.
Sobek.
I think I'm saying it correctly. It's Sobek.
Yeah.
It says here that it was among the oldest deities named in the pyramid text, the text inscribed on the walls of tombs. He was the lord of the crocodiles, not alligator. Well, if you think about it, like it says Sobek, god of the Nile.
Yeah.
So if you think, Egypt's in Africa, crocodiles, right?
Right,
So
right.
it was the lord of the crocodiles and was depicted with a crocodile head. Now,
Mhm.
looking at the pictures here, it looks like it's got a lion's torso. And somebody's happy outside. But it looks like it's got a lion torso. It's got like long orange kind of a mane or something like that. It's got a alligator, or not an alligator. You got me saying alligators.
Sorry.
Crocodile head, and then I believe that's the backside of a bear.
Yeah.
Which that's interesting.
Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty ferocious.
Oh yeah, he looks pretty scary.
Yeah, you're supposed to be scared of him because basically if he doesn't let you in the afterlife, you don't get to continue living. And that's it for you. That's the end of the line.
Right. It's like if you see that guy, you're screwed.
Yeah. So, that's just talking about all the different gods that were back then. That's why I'm passionate about it. Is the entire culture and the entire history of the Egyptians is very interesting. But one of the most interesting things is how the pyramids were made. And this is something that a lot of people have different theories on. There's different conspiracy theories involving aliens. I don't know how many of you out there believe in aliens, but this is something that you have to be open to. I feel like if you're open to anything that's supernatural, it's definitely something that you have thought about. If you even think about how long the earth has been here since creation, okay? The amount of time that humans have been on this earth is actually just a small sliver. So without even speaking about aliens that were from a different planet, we can still, I feel like I can wrap my head around the fact that there's civilizations that were way before us that we're not even able to comprehend what they were capable of doing, like tool wise, building wise, things like that. There's only so much that we can find through archaeology, through historians, through carbon dating. And because we don't know everything about the ancient Egyptians, that's where we kind of try to fill the void. Like, how were these pyramids built? Some people, historians, will say that it was built out of sheer manpower and people trying to serve the pharaohs, and the pharaohs were supposed to be somebody that was looked at as a god because the god was either the one who chose or the one who embodied the pharaoh. So a lot of people misinterpret the people who made the pyramids. These were not slaves. These were not people that were unwilling to work. They were working hard, blood, sweat, and tears to make these pyramids, of course. But these were people of the community that wanted to work to serve their
I
god.
did hear that it wasn't the slaves. It was more like you said, the community. It was uh from what I heard from doing research a little bit today was that like they were paid some form of money, and like it was like taxes and stuff like that that were
Yeah.
taken out or something like that.
Yeah, of course. It was still just it was just another job, just like your regular construction job.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was incredibly hard. You had to have sheer manpower. The amount of workers that they probably needed was immense. So this is going just on the baseline of like what historians have actually talked about how the pyramids were made. So we're talking about one of the heaviest bricks that is out there. I forget where it's located, but this is 27th century BC. Okay, so this is the earliest pyramid, the earliest temple that they know about, and I'm pretty sure it's not even in Egypt. I think it's actually in South America. I could be mistaken, but yeah. So we're talking about a pretty old temple. Um, these bricks are 2 tons each. Um, so if you think about 2 tons, what is that? Like 2 elephants per brick, basically.
Yeah, or from one of the podcasts that I listened to today, I believe they described it as a F-250,
Yeah.
so a heavy duty truck.
Yeah. That's a good description.
Yeah.
So how are these things being able to be lifted? How are they even being cut and carved into perfect squares? Of course, now when we look at them, they're all crumbled. They've decayed a little bit. They've gone through erosion. But at one point, these were perfect squares. So that's another thing that I wanted to bring up is there is some evidence that they used to use saws, giant saws, like 45-foot long saws or 25, I don't know, somewhere around there. We're talking about big ass saws.
Right.
And the reason why they had to be so big is because they didn't have electricity. So by the saw being so large, it weighed so much that once you got the momentum going, it was able to keep on going and be power enough to cut through even something like stone.
Do you know how many people it took to cut this?
Oh, I mean, I'm assuming around like 50 people just to kind of like make sure. I mean, the sheer amount of people that it would probably take to even just move a brick, we're talking about like at least 20 to 30 people. It's probably a huge team that's needed. So where the kind of like conspiracies come into play is people saying, um, how long are these pharaohs going to wait? Are they going to wait a lifetime? Like how long did these temples or these pyramids, how long did it actually take them to build? How many people did they actually have? Was it a matter of them having so many people that it didn't take so long? Or was it, just out of using sheer, man willpower and strength? Or was there more help, something to kind of get things going along, somebody there to show them what newer age technology would look like to help them build these pyramids? And that's where the aliens come in.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's also been not findings, but more research on um, on the fact that they use pulleys and they used, different cranes, and they would like weigh out like with wood or something like that to carry these stones
Ramps.
and lift them up and stuff like that. Yeah. And then another thing that I found out, which is actually pretty cool, is those blocks of stone. They don't, or they didn't look like what they look like today. So with the limestone, it was a very clear, almost like mirror looking smooth surface, and like over time with like sandstorms and everything like that, it eroded away, the nice finish of the rock. And then from what I also believe is that they were taller than what they were because of, the wind and everything like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the eroding away. And then another thing that I found out was that first pyramid that you were talking about, it was for this pharaoh called not Tofu. It was like Dofu or something like that. It was like a memorial of it, and supposedly that even before that, this conspiracy theory of there was a pyramid built for an alien because it had half human, half non from this earth race mixed in it. So it's like an alien and some type of human must have gotten it on, and boop, there you go.
Yeah.
But from also what I've heard is all these pyramids weren't for most pharaohs. I think it was just for that one, and then majority of the other pharaohs that had passed away, they were buried somewhere like in like a first level kind of tomb.
Yeah, so there was a problem with actual tomb raiders, grave diggers, whatever you want to call it. There was thieves that would actually try to break into the pharaoh's temples. So a lot of times, the pharaoh's temples were just a way to honor them. It's just a giant statement piece. And a lot of times they were buried elsewhere just for the safety of their bodies, because the number one priority was making sure that this pharaoh was able to continue living in the afterlife comfortably and safely. So there was definitely some false tombs. Um, but the majority of these temples, of these pyramids, I'm sorry, were made to honor pharaohs and therefore honoring the gods that the pharaohs embodied. And then a lot of pharaohs also built pyramids for their wives, their multiple wives, or their favorite wives. There's a lot of them out there, like Nefertiti, I believe, is a one. She's a very famous pharaoh's bride. I think at one point she almost ruled herself. So yeah, they're just a symbol, a giant symbol of rulership and trying to honor the gods as well. Something that's really cool about the main pyramids in Egypt is they actually all line up directly towards constellations. So that's another thing that's kind of mind-boggling, is that the Egyptians knew how to place these pyramids to directly coordinate to certain constellations.
Yeah, and I did hear something about that, to where the way that the pyramids were kind of aligned was either off of Orion's belt or it was facing north.
Mm-hmm.
To where all of them kind of like face
Yeah.
like north or some type
Yeah.
of way. So I mean, the fact that they knew exactly at the point of like how Orion's belt, like where it was and everything like that, like the astrology part of it, that's also quite fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the articles that I read earlier that I didn't necessarily agree with, it was from a historical website. So of course they're going to take more of a stand from the historical standpoint, not so much from like conspiracies, right? So it was kind of harsh. It was saying that people wanted to say that the pyramids were built by aliens because not of racism, but of what's the word where you're fond of your own culture but not so fond of others, and you're not willing to go beyond that. Whatever that word may be. Basically, people looked down on this previous culture, this previous civilization that existed, and that we're not capable of wrapping our minds around the fact that even though these people existed so long ago, they still had the same wits and the same, maybe not the same knowledge that we have nowadays, but their same brain capacity. They weren't any less knowledgeable. They weren't more stupid than us. You know what I mean? Like they still had these basic human capacities with the brain. They were able to make their own inventions. They had different equipment and things like that. Different they weren't exactly like educated in the same way. They didn't know as much as we do now, so they don't have the same tools, but they did still have tools. So that was something that said it was almost um saying that the people that believed in the aliens helping the pyramids, they were just maybe too small-minded to realize that people in the past were also smart as well. Which I feel like that's a valid point, but also kind of harsh too. Because I feel like if you're open-minded, like you can be open-minded to the possibility and still kind of respect people from ancient times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. To where you can appreciate, kind of what they went through, and also, you know, not be skeptical and not be so harsh on like, oh, I know what had happened, where it's like,
You really don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, humans are just a blip on the earth.
Yeah.
There was so many things before us. So for us to like look at past civilizations and just base it on like how far we've dug down and different layers of the earth and what we've found, like archaeologists and stuff like that, there's got to be so much. I mean, how much do you think we've actually found on these ancient civilizations? How
Probably
much do
about
you think?
50%.
Yeah.
At 2023, I would say we found probably 50%. There's so much, especially in the ocean as well, that I would say is, like we haven't even gotten deep enough,
Yeah.
because it's like with, you know, weather and, just how the earth has morphed and
Mhm.
everything like that. There's so much that we still have yet to discover. I mean, they I believe there was like, what was it? I think it was like last year or 2 years ago. They found like a whole civilization.
Mhm.
Uh, and of course, it had to be like dug up and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like a whole city down
Yeah.
below. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't Atlantis or anything like that, but it was pretty damn close, because you had different homes, and you had like your living rooms and stuff like that, but then it was a whole city that just got buried by sand and by the whole environment that was in the desert. So, but we're going to take another quick break, but we're going to continue with the Egyptian mummy and pyramids. So, do you feel so? Would you say you're a big conspiracy theorist?
As long as it's not considered like political conspiracy, if it's just like, I mean, we're talking about the supernatural today, then yeah, for sure, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what would be? Do you feel like the pyramids were made by the Egyptians, or do you feel like they were made um, with the help of the aliens?
Oh, for sure, with the help of the aliens. I just don't believe that sheer manpower and will is gonna allow them to make such big monuments for so many years, so many times. I feel like unless these people were willing to die of blood, sweat, and tears for their pharaohs or for their gods, uh, there's no way. And I mean, I guess maybe that was like the culture if they were just trying to do it out of trying to honor the divine gods or something. Maybe it compelled them enough, but I just feel like that's really far-fetched. They definitely needed some help from some sort of thing that was experienced in building, was experienced in tools and things like that to kind of show them the way on how to make such huge monuments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I personally would say that, I mean, I believe in aliens, not like full on. I don't know. It's weird because it's like I believe in aliens and extraterrestrials, but do I think that they were made, uh, like they helped make the pyramids?
I mean, if
don't know.
if you're thinking about like the Greys, you know what the Greys are?
No, what is the Greys?
The Greys, it's your typical explanation of what an alien looks like. So they're short, they're scrawny, long fingers, huge forehead, and big beady black eyes.
Yeah,
Those are considered the Greys.
right.
Yeah. So if that's what you're thinking about, kind of just like chilling with some humans being like, yeah, put that there. Like, if you're thinking about it that way, then yeah, I understand why you wouldn't believe that sort of thing.
Right.
Um,
Or maybe they took a ship and just kind of used the whatever to suck the block up and then be like, and they'd be like, no, move it over there,
yeah,
more to the left, more to the left.
right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But we have no idea what like aliens actually look like. Like this is just like Hollywood telling us what aliens look like.
True.
You know, and I mean, they could even be like humanoids. They could look more like humans than what we imagine.
Right, like that one scenario where the one alien / human like body was found in the one pyramid.
Yeah. So the thing with like forehead or head stretching, this is actually something that we've seen in humans, like seen in cultures before, especially in Africa and South America. There's certain tribes and certain villages,
Right. Yeah.
where in order to be top of the chain in your village, you literally put such tight bands around your forehead starting as a child, starting as almost like an infant sometimes. It will elongate your head. But one of the cool things is um, they have actually found some non-stretched human skulls that did actually just have long foreheads. And they have skulls to show us this. And it wasn't just one, it was multiple in a grave all together. I'm pretty sure this might have been in like Africa. But they were all buried together and there was no others. It was just it was just about, you know, like a family, and they all had elongated foreheads, and it didn't seem to be something that was stretched. It seemed to have been just a physical aspect that these people had, which was really mind-boggling. Cat problems.
Harley wanted to be on the pod. I swear, I thought she was going to be a good girl, but she wanted to have some attention. Gotta love it. Oh, but don't worry. She'll be only in my room for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I have seen that to where, you know, they elongate their necks, they elongate their lips, their ears, or not their ears, but their earlobes. I thought it was like a certain, what was it? It was said, I don't know if it was true or not, but it was said that when the slave trade was happening, they would do that to make themselves uglier, and then it turned into a beauty thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, and then like you were saying, like the higher the tribe, the more uh of the metal that they would have. So
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure the whole background on that, but
Mhm.
I do know exactly what you're talking about, and that makes actually very much a lot of sense, especially because Egypt is in Africa, so that totally makes sense where it would
Mhm.
transcend.
Well, the question is like, did these skulls were these people just born with it? Did they alter their bodies with bands and things like that? Um, you know, to the point where we just can't tell. I seen a picture of this skull. This skull is smooth. It doesn't have any ridges in it. It looked
Right.
like it was made or born that way, and it was multiple of them. And although if it was made just by banding the forehead, are they trying to look like a certain deity that they've seen in the past? Are they trying to resemble possibly the aliens that have helped them? You never know.
Right. And I mean, even if you look at, like, say, King Tut, like his
Hmm.
skull is almost looking alien form. Like, here's a little photo here.
Well, something about King Tut is he was born from a long line of incest.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense too.
he also could barely walk. He could barely speak. He was basically just a vegetable in a body.
Which is nuts because he was a king.
Most of them were born out of incest.
Right, to keep the
And
blood, because they thought the bloodline would be strong that way, but in in
mhm.
in scientific purposes, it wasn't.
No, it was very bad.
I mean, but the fact that he was like a vegetable, like, what was he? He wasn't he like a teenager when he passed?
I think he was in his early 20s when he passed.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean his skull is so fascinating.
Yeah, his spine was messed up. He could barely walk. He like had one leg that was shorter than the other. He had facial deformities and also like just like mental disabilities and things like that just from a long line of incest. And that was most of the pharaoh families, the royal families in Egypt.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Huh. Well, we're gonna I guess with the alien part of it. So, do you believe that aliens exist?
Yeah, I definitely do. I almost think that it's crazy not to believe in aliens and something else.
Right.
Um, if you look at how small Earth is and how small we are on Earth, how many other planets are out there with very similar, solar systems surrounding them. We're not the only, what do you call it? Like our Milky Way, that is our solar system, but there's multiple around us.
Right.
There's millions, billions.
Of galaxies and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to think that planet Earth is the only thing that actually holds intelligent life um, in all of the solar systems that we even know about a few other of them. We've sent out like robots and like, video cameras, whatever. Some of them don't make us, some of them do. And we get pretty far nowadays.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can definitely say for myself that I almost feel like there's another, like, dimension, I guess you could say, to
Yeah.
where, like, there's another me in another galaxy, but it's living like like an alternate life kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, if I feel pain, they feel the same pain. Like, if I break my arm, they feel shooting pain in their arm, for a couple hours or whatever. But they didn't break their arm. I did. And then if they, get, say, stabbed, right? And then I feel something like in my rib area, and it's like a shooting sharp pain, and I don't know, like,
Where it came from.
where that came from. But yeah, I don't know. That's something that I've kind of always thought of, that it would be like a.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely really humbling to realize how small we are on the planet Earth.
Oh yeah.
Um So I feel like if you're not taking the jump to realize that there's other intelligent life around us. See, my thing is if these aliens are quite as intelligent as conspiracy theories have made them out to be, why would they even be interested in coming to Earth to visit us? Unless they maybe didn't have enough resources, so they need to take some of our resources. But like, why are they going to bother even talking to some, some humans that really don't know a whole lot? We really have not, like I said, have not been here on this earth for that long in comparison to how long the planet has actually been livable. So we are kind of babies. They might look at us like babies. Maybe that's why they came back during the pyramid age to like teach us something. And maybe that's why they haven't come back since, because they realize that we're just babies. When you look at the entire universe.
So now, how do you feel about like Area 51?
I don't know a whole lot about it. I do know that in the past like 5 years, the government has released a lot of paranormal type files, a lot of alien UFO sightings and things like that. And they released it to the public. I don't know why, but
Yeah, because it used to be very, very hush hush, and
yeah.
now it's like, all right, we got all the info that we kind of got right now, so
Yeah.
here you go. And supposedly, I guess they've had different aliens or extraterrestrials in Area 51, kind of just hanging out and stuff like that. But I don't know.
What makes you think why would they be drawn to that location?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you just don't know.
Well, and another thing that kind of makes me question is, why is it that there's so much activity in America? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't hear anything from other countries like Germany or England, or even like, I mean, granted, North Korea wouldn't share anything, but like even like
Right.
out in Asia,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is it strictly an American thing?
Well, I mean, if you just change, can't you change like your IP address to like show that you're in a different location? Like it might not be like that there is no sightings in other countries and locations. It might just be that we're not being shown that information because uh you ever see those apps that you're actually able to change where you're at? Like you can use Netflix, but say that you're from Sweden.
Oh yeah,
A VPN.
yeah. Oh
A
yeah.
VPN.
Oh yeah, the VPN. Yeah.
Yeah. So like let's say that you changed where your location is on the earth to view the web from the point of view of like China. You might actually see some paranormal activity. There's no way of knowing. We're only shown certain things based on our location.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's still other stuff that we do not know that is very secretive. And it could be to where the countries are really working together on this thing, and it's like, if like say alien is in China, and the U.S. is like, okay, we'll take over, and they take that alien and bring him to like Area 51 or something like that. And do the tests on them, and then the aliens will come back and be like, all right, you want to do tests on them, we'll do tests on you. And then that's when people are like, yeah, they came and they probed me, and and,
Yeah.
so I don't know, it's I think both sides are fascinated with each other because of the intelligence that humans have and the intelligence that extraterrestrials have. But it's just it's an interesting thing to think about, to where it's like when they say, like, I don't even know if they would say, take me to your leader.
Yeah, take me to your leader.
Take me to your leader. Which one?
Right.
So
yeah, I don't know. I think my idea of what they may be like, if wherever they are out there. I think that they're so high above us. Like I think that they're so I don't know, equipped. They've been around for so much longer that they probably look at us and think that we're dumbasses. In my opinion. Like I mean that's why we don't see them, or if we do, it's for a blip, and that's why we see sightings of UFOs in the air. Like the instances where people say like, "Oh yeah, there was a UFO that landed in my backyard," and it's like some random farmer that's like in the middle of nowhere. Like I don't know if he's telling the truth or not.
Right.
I'm not going to doubt him, but I'm probably not going to believe him. Like I'm kind of in the middle about it. I'm like 50-50.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what is their use? Like, what is their goal of actually like landing? Unless it's like a crash landing, which is what this one farmer said. I don't know where, it was somewhere in the United States. Farmer said that something like a meteorite landed in his backyard and he swore it was a UFO. And then when he went back out there after like he made his claim or whatever, it wasn't there anymore, but there was still like a giant hole in his backyard. Like,
Right.
yeah, it was just gone.
It's like they crashed and they're like, "Oh, hold on, let's fix it."
Yeah.
You know, we're smart enough. Like, and they fix it and they're like, "All right, get the hell out of here. Come on, come on, come on."
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, was this guy tripping or did he actually see something? Like, nobody knows. That's the problem is like, I feel like if I were an alien, I probably wouldn't land in a super urban area where like a lot of like, I don't know, these people could come and fight me. We don't know what these humans are going to do.
Right.
I'm going to land in the country. But the thing about landing in the country is like all the eyewitnesses, you look at them how I'm looking at this farmer dude.
Yeah.
Is he telling the truth? Was he just doing some crack? We don't know.
I mean, I don't think it will be in my lifetime, but I mean, maybe it will, but who knows? But I am just curious if aliens will come and work with us again, and they will, either help us either to get to Mars or something like that. I mean, one thing's for sure: if they meet Elon Musk, they're gonna be like, he thinks he's smart.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, are they going to care that our planet's going to shit from pollution, or are they just going to let us become a sinking ship? Like, hopefully, I mean, maybe one day they're going to be like, hey, you're doing everything wrong. This is how you're going to do it. Or we're going to take over and we're going to take all your resources. Like, who knows?
Yeah. And I mean, if honestly I could sit down and talk with the extraterrestrial, I would have so many questions and just ask them, how long has your species been around? Do you know if there's more of living beings besides us and you guys? And, different things like that.
There has been evidence of like living cells on like, what was it, Mars or something? There's another planet. There's another planet out there somewhere where I know for a fact that NASA found a living cell. And it was they had bodies of what looked like water, but it's actually mercury, I believe. So it's not really livable for living beings like us.
And this is on Mars?
I believe so. And it was just, we're talking about cells. So will they eventually evolve into something that's larger and more complicated? Probably not, because it's not that livable of a situation. We just happen to have all the right stuff here in, on planet Earth. We had all the right things to get us to evolve and become something more than just a cell. But us ourselves, we started as cells too.
Okay. Well, we are gonna close out this episode, but real quick, I actually just thought of this today. Now we're gonna play this game called "Are They a Serial Killer?" I posted on social media on both Instagram and Facebook to have people comment, and I asked coworkers today if they could help me out with this. But have you ever looked at somebody and been like, yeah, that guy's a serial killer, whether if it's how they look or what their quirks are?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Now, you will answer yes or no. Okay. So, are they a serial killer? If they work out to tropical vibes music.
No.
get pleasure from opera music.
Like sexual pleasure?
More like they get. I mean, that's a good.
Because if yes, then yes.
Yeah, right. More like they just
Opera music.
They
I'm gonna say yes.
All right,
I'm thinking like about Hannibal.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Laugh while watching slasher movies.
No.
If they like pineapple on pizza.
No.
If they're a guy that wears crop tops.
Yes.
Listens to screamo music 24/7.
Yeah.
If they have a teddy bear strapped to the grill of their semi.
That's an interesting picture. I would say yes.
If they have a laugh that sounds like an evil laugh.
Yes.
Okay. If they down with the devil.
If you're down with the devil, I'm going to say yes.
If they put ketchup on their eggs.
Don't look at me.
I'm going to say yes.
If they like their hamburgers cooked rare.
Oh God, yes. They're definitely a psycho.
If they have a baby doll collection.
Oh my God. Why are these all supposed to be yes? This is all just like non-ordinary things. I'm sorry. So yes.
If they let their dogs lick in their mouth.
Ew. No, that's just some like really creepy grandma stuff. So I'm going to say no.
Okay.
But it's still like very wrong.
If they pour milk before their cereal. Are they a serial killer?
That is so confusing. Like, I don't even see the point in that. I'm just going to say no.
All right, and last one. If they butter the bread before putting it in the toaster, are they a serial killer?
Wow, that's like actually incredible. I have never thought about that. Yes.
They're a serial killer if they put butter on the bread.
Yeah, because they're
toaster?
smart, so they could definitely take out the jab, you know?
Well, that was a fun game. I mean, it was kind of like
Yeah.
a thought of this, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Brooke, thank you so much for coming on. Again, for those that are listening, you can find Brooke at the Lash Cabana Facial Bar and in St. Clair Shores at 10 in Harper. How can they schedule an appointment with you?
You're going to look at the website or you're going to call our number that's on Google. So you're going to Google Lash Cabana Facial Bar. Those last two words are very important because otherwise you might be taken to our OG location. But to find me, I am in St. Clair Shores. So just give us a Google. Just type it in and you'll find us right away.
And do you guys have any like social media or anything like that?
We do. We have an Instagram. So my personal Lash Cabana Instagram is the let's see here. It is Brook Lash Cabana. And that's my Instagram handle. And then you can find the Lash Cabana Facial Bar also for everybody's work on there. We have a very large portfolio for you to look at.
Awesome. Well, Brooke, thank you again so much for starting out the spooky season with me. It was an absolute blast to talk ghosts, pyramids, aliens, and even play a little game. So I wish nothing but the best for you and your job and everything like that. And I would love to have you back on and talk more paranormal and whatnot.
Absolutely. This was a blast.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It was
Yeah.
but thank you so much.
Thank you.